Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Alchemy Energy, the podcast with Julie. I'm Julie. I am a healer, empath, medium, and author. This podcast is a spiritual and paranormal podcast to enlighten the masses, and also about the people that bring light to the masses. I have an amazing guest here with me tonight. My guest is Julie Ryan. Julie is an inventor, psychic, medical, intuitive, radio show host, and author. And thank you for being here tonight, Julie.
You're welcome, Julie. We're like Julie squared this evening.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you've written a couple books here.
Yeah, and the third one is coming out in a couple of weeks.
The third one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Angelic Attendants and Angel Messages for Kids.
Right. And the new one's Angel Messages for Dogs. So it's Angel is giving dogs advice.
Okay. Oh boy. Oh wow. So you're also,
it's another children's book.
And you're also you do more than what I've just, inventor, medical intuitive, radio show host, a syndicated radio show host, and author.
Right.
The list goes on, right?
Yeah. I've lived a long time. So my girlfriend is a retired business professor, Julie, and she says, listen, all entrepreneurs have ADD because you guys can't make it, through one company for a while. And she's right. I've founded 9 companies in 5 industries, and people say, how does that work? I just was interested in stuff and saw it, and, just got into it if there was an opportunity. So it's really fun. And now I'm doing medical, intuitive, and psychic stuff. I tell people I'm a businesswoman that learned how to do woo-woo, and I'm a buffet of psychicness, which is true.
Oh, wow. I love that.
I know. And now I teach people all over the world how to do what I do because I learned how to do all this stuff.
Right. Like anybody can.
Absolutely.
So back to your book. You start out talking. You talk about all the companies that you worked for and built, and then you're an inventor,
right?
So can you share with us what you've invented?
Yeah, sure. I've invented orthopedic surgery devices, Julie, that are sold throughout the world. Some of which have been on the market for about 30 years. And so now it's really fun that was another part of my life. But when I talk to people who are inventing things or trying to deal with patents and trademarks, I have a lot of knowledge in that because I have a bunch of patents and a bunch of trademarks. And so my first well-known product for orthopedic surgery is used when somebody gets total joint surgery, like a new knee or a new hip. And it used to be that the bones would bleed after the surgery because they would tourniquet the leg when they were putting in the new knee or hip. And so my device collects the blood. It's disposable. It collects the blood, puts the patient's own blood back into them so they don't have to use somebody else's blood. And it's been sold, like I said, it's been on the market for about 30 years. And then my next best known product is used for arthroscopies and what are called wet surgeries, where a lot of irrigation fluid is used and it keeps the floor dry. It's a big mat that they stand on. It's hooked up to suction. So the fluid falls onto the mat, it collects and it contains and then collects and then evacuates the fluid. Because now what happens, people in surgery are wearing galoshes and they're slipping and falling in the fluid that's on the floor that's coming out of somebody's knee or hip or shoulder. It's pretty disgusting.
Or elsewhere. I know.
That's right.
I had a C-section and they made comments and I'm like, what?
I know. I've been in a lot of C-sections over the years, and yeah, you don't want to see that. If it's you who's getting cut on.
Well, thank you for
oh my God, it looks like a slasher movie.
Right. Thank you for your invention.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hopefully, well, if I ever go to one of those again. So tell us about your psychic ability, how you went from, the business to the psychic, because there was a slow transition in your book and then you really went into it because you did the Brennan school as well, Barbara Brennan.
I didn't actually. I was trained by somebody who graduated from there.
Oh.
So some of her teachings were incorporated into the curriculum that I studied, Julie. But I was interested. I read a book by Carolyn Mace called Anatomy of the Spirit, and I thought it was interesting. And she called herself a medical intuitive. I thought, what the heck is that? I'd never heard that term before. And so I read her book and I wanted to know more. So back then we didn't have the internet yet, because this is 30 years ago.
Right.
So I did the old fashioned thing and I went to a bookstore. I went to a Barnes and Noble to see what else they had. And I found a book by Barbara Brennan named Hands of Light, which she's a former NASA physicist who has parlayed very complex quantum physics principles into understandable English. And so I read her book and then I wanted to know more. And so I called her school to see if she had anybody in my area that was teaching, perhaps who was a graduate of her school. And sure enough, she did. And that's who I studied with for 6 years. Curriculum, I paid the same amount as I would have to get a graduate degree. And now I teach people all over the world how to do this woo-woo stuff. I call it woo-woo, how to do woo-woo in 4 weeks online, 2 hours, 4 Saturdays in a row.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 8 total hours. So it's really fun. We have a great time. And so I learned how to be a medical intuitive and psychic and medium. So I can scan you medically. We can talk to your dead grandma. I can scan your cat. We could do past life stuff. We can do, I can tell how close to death somebody is. We can communicate with any spirit, either attached to a body or not, one that's in pure spirit form, and tell how close to death somebody is, all that stuff. Once you connect with spirit, then you can take it anywhere you want.
Right. Wow. And the Hands of Light book is just an awesome book.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, she just lays it out perfectly.
I find that it is somewhat antiquated now, though. It's 40 years old. Mm-hmm. It's a good place to start, but a lot of the techniques that I've come across over the years are very involved with doing things a certain way, and you have to be doing this. You have to meditate for an hour first and all that. The way I teach it is you turn it on, it takes a nanosecond, you turn it off. Boom, you're right there. I mean, it's super simple. I think it's been way overcomplicated throughout history. And we all have the ability, we all come in with it. We've all had a situation where we think of somebody and then all of a sudden we get an email from them or a text, or they call us, or we run into them and we think, oh, what a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's your psychic ability. It's your intuitive ability working at play. Yeah.
Do you have some favorite stories about using your psychic abilities?
Yeah, actually, there are several in the book, but one of my all-time favorite ones it involves one of my best friends. Her name's Patty, and she lives in Oklahoma City. Actually, I talked to her this morning on my walk. And she, that when there was the Oklahoma City bombing, and so it was in, I guess it was like 95, was it 95? 95, I was living in Los Angeles, Julie, and I got it. And so it was 2 hours behind Central Time that Oklahoma's in. And I had the TV on and I was getting ready to go to a meeting or something. And I saw that there had been a bombing. And I had this thought, oh my God, Patty's sick. Patty's been injured. So I called her. Of Of course, no answer. I called her home. She had a nanny. Nanny hadn't heard from her or her husband. And I'm thinking, oh, heavens. And I ran downstairs and I said to my husband, there's been a bombing in Oklahoma City and Patty's been injured. And he said, well, did you talk to her? How do you know? And I said, I just know. And he said, well, you're just nuts. How do you know? You need to call her. And that was before I learned how to do woo-woo. So I think that was, we all have gut feelings about things. And that was one that really stuck with me. And then when I started learning how to do this, it made more sense that I had that thought. And as it turned out, she was injured. Her building was right across the street from the Murrah building that was bombed. So when the bomb hit, it forced her head down on her desk and the ceiling collapsed on top of her. And she had stitches, many, many stitches in her head, the back of her head. And she was on the news that night being interviewed. She's a lawyer, Julie. And I said, well, you look beautiful on the news. And she said, yeah, you should have seen the back of me. It was just like streaks of blood down the back of my suit. But she had a tall chair and she had a suit jacket on. And she said that really saved her because some of her colleagues were up against the glass. And when the impact happened, it got in their face and they had many surgeries trying to get the glass out of their face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. So that's my favorite example of coming in knowing how to do woo-woo without knowing woo-woo even existed.
Right. Well, I've had it for a while.
I think we all do. Little children. You had a C-section. How old is your child?
Well, he was born in 95, so he's 25.
He's 25. All right.
Yeah.
Mine was born in 92. So he's 28. And so the 25-year-old, when he was a baby, I'm sure he probably said things or did things or saw things that perhaps you didn't see. My son, when he was a baby, I was rocking him one night, giving him a bottle, and he was a toddler. He was talking, but he hadn't been walking for very long at that point. And he pointed to a corner in the room and he said, Mommy, what's that? And I said, well, honey, what do you see? I wouldn't see anything. And he said, it's a red ball. And I said, oh, it's just energy. I don't know what it was, but at that point, I thought, okay, this kid's seeing something, so I need to validate what he's seeing. And I think what parents normally do is they'll say, oh, honey, that's just your imagination. And so children learn to shut down their intuitive abilities. And then when they go to school or they have friends and they're talking about things that they're seeing or they're experiencing, and they can get made fun of, and the other kids aren't necessarily seeing it. So little children learn how to shut that down, which is what my children's books are intended to do, is to help foster that and have it make sense to little people.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. No, I can't remember my child being that way. When he was 15, he certainly did pick something up and share it with me. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was interesting. He's shut it down. He doesn't like it. So I'm going to call this the 12-step program to get to heaven. So
that's a good way to put it. I love that. Yeah.
But it's the 12 phases of transition from living to heaven.
Right.
And I'm going to share, if you want to share a little bit, I'm going to put this on the screen.
Okay. I call it the 12 phases of transition. It's in my book, Angelic Attendants, what really happens as we transition from this life into the next. And what happens is, as we're dying, we go through these 12 phases where we're surrounded by angels and deceased loved ones, the spirits of deceased loved ones, and even the spirits of deceased pets, which is really interesting. And whether somebody dies, Julie, in the case of a homicide or suicide, and they die very instantly, or sometimes we'll hear somebody say, oh, he dropped dead of a heart attack. Well, that's kind of an instant situation. And what happens is these different phases that we all go through, I can, and my students, my graduates of my class, can look and scan somebody anywhere in the world real time and tell what phase of transition they're in. and we know how close to death they are, and then we can communicate with the person who's dying, oftentimes when they're not able to communicate with their families anymore. So remember, there's no time in the spirit world. Time is a human concoction.
Right.
And so it's hard for us to wrap our heads around that there's no time in the spirit world, but that's how everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition, whether they die very rapidly, instantly, or whether they die over days, weeks, months, even years. There was a gal that called into my show, which is on Thursday nights, and she called in for 2 years, Julie, and her dad was dying of Alzheimer's.
Oh.
And he was in phase 11 of 12. 12's like you're getting escorted to heaven by angels. And he was in phase 11 for 2 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I have a viewer.
Yeah, I'm reading it. He had dreams, happened one at a time, 3 total. Last one hasn't happened. He saw a middle that had USA on its side. That's probably a typo. Huh. Wow. Great. Well, the interesting thing is my friend Patty's office was right across the street from the front of the Murrah building. And she looked down on that daycare center where the kids were. And she saw the Ryder truck parked out front, the one that had all the explosives in it.
Oh, he said he saw a missile, not a middle.
Oh, a missile. Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that was kind of like a missile.
Yeah.
That explosion.
Well, yeah. So in the 12 steps, you talk about how the maternal mother, if they've crossed over, when the person is dying, rather, the mother or the grandmother, whoever's passed over from the other side, will come, and then the father, if they've passed over, and that's what the 12 phases are of. And your material better than I do.
Yeah, I call it the 12 phases of transition. And all this is on my website, you guys. Anybody listening, if you want to see it, just go to askjulieryan.com, and the graphics are on the website. And so when we're dying, Julie, as I perceive it, the spirit and the body are all holographic, and the spirit's the main part of us, but the body is inside the spirit. So when we're dying, the spirit and the body separate. So the spirit exits the top of the head, and it holds on to the top of the head. It looks like a cartoon caption bubble, right? Where if you're looking at a cartoon, the words of the cartoon or what the character's thoughts are there. And that's phase 1. And then phase 2 is the maternal spirit closest to the person who's dying shows up. So if the dying person's mother is still alive, it's going to be his maternal grandmother. If she's still alive, it's going to be her mother or his maternal great grandmother. It's always on the mother line. And I find that so interesting because in a lot of ancient cultures, Judaism, for instance, the child is not considered to be Jewish unless the mother that gives birth to the child is Jewish. And so that's why you hear about women converting to Judaism when they want to raise their children Jewish, because that's the tradition of it, that the child is not Jewish unless the mother is. So I find that interesting. I mean, there's something there along those lines with it's always the maternal line. We think we're done with our kids when they're grown and gone, like your son and my son, but we're not. We're still helping them out from the grave. We're coming back to help them transition. And then phase 3, what happens is a circle of angels shows up. Phase 2, the mother spirit shows up, then the paternal spirit shows up, and it's always on the maternal line. So if the person who's dying, their dad is still alive, it's going to be their maternal grandfather. If he's still alive, it's going to be their maternal great grandfather. So it will be always on the maternal line. And then they anchor this circle of angels. And these are big old angels as I perceive them.
I have a question, Julie.
Yeah, sure.
So, what if you don't have a good relationship with your family?
Great question. It's one I'm asked a lot. Spirits are pure love, Julie. All the snarkiness of humanness, I guess, is that a word? All the snarkiness that humans have stay with the body when somebody dies. So the most awful person you can think of that ever lived, the snarkiness of their personality stays with their body, and their spirit is pure love and is in heaven. And we think, how can that be? Because of everything that we've learned, in religions and cultures and things. But that's all been used to control the masses over the years.
But
It doesn't exist.
They still have a personality from the other side, though.
They have a personality when you talk with them so that they can show you, so they can convince you that that's who it is. But it's like an act they put on. It's like they can show up at different phases in their life so that you can recognize who they are. But every spirit is pure love. So anything that would be a negative personality trait stays with the body. Does that make sense?
I don't agree.
Okay, that's fine. That's my experience.
But you've dealt with some really great spirits.
I don't believe in evil spirits. I don't believe they exist. I've never encountered one in 30 years of this work, and I have skinned literally tens of thousands of people.
I do believe in, spirit is inherently good.
They are. They're all pure love.
Yes.
Spirit, the vibration of spirit is pure love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we haven't gotten to the pet part of the phase because I think people want to know that their pets show up.
Pets show up kind of halfway through, and their spirits are there. Every pet that you've ever had. The first time I saw this stuff was when my own mother was dying, and the dogs that we had is when I was little were there. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is wild. And then there were other dogs there too that I didn't know who they were. So at her funeral, my uncle, her only sibling, was in, and I was explaining these different dogs, what they looked like to him. And he goes, oh, that's Rowdy, and that's Stanley, and that's whomever. He knew exactly who they were.
That's
yeah.
wild.
So sometimes it's really funny if somebody has grown up on a farm, or maybe they have pet snakes or something. I'll see these other animals and I'll say, did your grandmother grow up on a farm? Because there are horses and chicks and ducks and pigs and cows and stuff. And they said, oh yeah. And I would explain what they look like. And they'd say, oh, that's Bessie. That was their dairy cow. And that's Charlie the horse. And it's really a riot. But it's very comforting to the family, Julie, when I'm describing these loved ones and these pets to them, or one of my graduates is, and the family's going, okay, she really can't be making this stuff up, because there's no way she would know this stuff.
Right. And so the phase goes on, and then eventually the angels take.
Yeah, the angels start out in a circle, and as the person's approaching death, Julie, that circle opens up into a horseshoe, and it keeps getting wider and wider till near the end. It's the line of angels. It forms a line. It's almost like it's the line of demarcation between the spirit world and our world, human world. And then at that point, there are so many spirits that are in the room, that are there. It's almost like the room doesn't have walls. The walls fold back. And the spirits that are there, I call them the Welcome to Heaven Committee. They're just there to welcome everybody. Yeah, he's right.
Yes.
Yep. He's right. It's like an orb. It looks like a cartoon caption to me, the bubble. But it stays attached to the top of the head until they transition. The other thing that's cool that happens about between phase 9 and phase 10, Julie, is that there have been extra angels that have shown up, and they're on either side of the spirit bubble, and their wings start to move about phase 9, phase 10. And they remind me of these giant owl wings, where if you've ever seen a documentary about owls, that's very slow and rhythmic, but you can almost feel the drag that they're creating. And what happens when these angels' wings start to move is it creates a vortex, and the vortex helps the body and the spirit separate. And it's called the wingtip vortex. When I was writing the book, I Googled it. I did research on it to see, okay, I think I Googled owl wings vortex. Well, there are just kabillions of links to what's called the wingtip vortex. Every insect, every bird, every plane, every jet, every glider, every kite that gets lift, they get lift from the wingtip vortex. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, this is wild. The angel's wings move, they create this wingtip vortex. So they're in the spirit world, they're creating a wingtip vortex in our world that is really an aeronautical engineering thing that I didn't know. And that's what helps the body and the spirit separate. It's very remarkable to watch.
Interesting.
And then the two angels on either side of the vortex then escort the person to heaven.
Wow. It's just like they've come to move this energy.
Yeah. Yeah. They create drag. It's like a giant owl's wing. It just, you can almost feel the drag that it's creating. The other thing that I find really interesting is we see things through our own lens, through our own frame of reference. I'm a gal that went to 12 years of Catholic schools. Angels to me look like big entities, long white gown, big wings, hair cascading down to their shoulders and the whole 9 yards. Is that what they look like to everybody? No, that's what they look like to me, because that's my frame of reference. Somebody growing up in an indigenous culture, perhaps in the Amazon or in Peru or someplace, they are going to see angels maybe as a blob of purple energy or some other form. But we all interpret things through our own frame of reference.
Our own perceptions, right?
Exactly.
I had another question, but since we kind of, how has your faith really combined with what the woo-woo?
Well, I think being raised as a Catholic and 12 years of Catholic schools, I think that Catholics do a really good job of priming the pump for woo-woo, because at a very young age, we're taught the guardian angel prayer, and we're taught about angels, and we're taught about saints and the Holy Spirit and things like that. And so I think it primes the pump. Interestingly enough, my parish where I go to church, they give one of my books, Angelic Attendants, to every family that comes in to plan a funeral.
Oh, wow.
And my book's being used in Sunday school classes around the country in churches of all denominations and even in synagogues.
Awesome.
And I didn't see that coming, but I was led to write the book by my spirit guide, who's a dead pope. And can I tell you that quick story of how he showed up?
Tell it, please.
It's really fun. I was with my mentor, and I do healings on people all over the world. She's the only one that zaps on me. And I was in her office about 10 years ago, and my deceased loved one's spirits are lining. I lay on a massage table when she's doing a healing on me, face up, and my deceased loved one's spirits are on either side of the table. And so one day this Pope's spirit showed up. He had the whole Pope outfit on. And I said to him, well, who are you? Yeah, the hat, the whole 9 yards. And I said, well, who are you? And he said, I'm Clement. And I said, there was a Pope Clement? And he said, yeah, I was number 6. And he's kind of laughing. And I said, okay, great. Can I help you? Kind of like, why are you here? And he said, it's your job in this lifetime to educate the world about what happens when somebody dies. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm a businesswoman. People will think I'm nuts. So I'm debating with this dead Pope.
Right.
So So he goes, yeah, whatever. He said, everything that you've done in your life is to get you ready to do this. And you just need to get on with it because people are so afraid to die because it's been so bastardized by religions and cultures trying to control the masses. And it's just false. It's glorious. And you know it is because you've seen it. And by this point, I had seen it with my own mother. I'd seen it with other family members, with other friends and their family members. And so he said, yeah, you just need to get on with it. Just do it. He treats me like I'm a Nike ad. He says to me often, just do it. So I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. I'm not doing that. So I get in the car, Julie, to go home. And I Googled just for kicks, Pope Clement VI. He was in office during the bubonic plague, during the Black Plague, when 2/3 of Europe died. And he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I'm thinking, Ryan, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, I'd never heard of him, and here he is. Right. So he's become my spirit guide and my main spirit guide. When I need, I'm sure he's always feeding information into my head, but there have been many times when I'll call him in and I'll say, Clement, what do you think about this? And my company's Clement Inc. I even named the company after him.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. That's about as big of a compliment as you're going to get from a businesswoman, right?
You can't use Nike, so.
That's right.
Why not a Pope?
Clement Inc. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Gee whiz. So tell us about your training class, the training that you do where you teach. Can you go a little bit more bit more detail? Yeah,
if people from all over the world that take it, the only prerequisite is you got to speak English because I don't speak anything else. Oui, see, that's about it. Dankeschön. So it's 2 hours for 4 Saturdays in a row. I teach it once a quarter. I limit it to 12 people. Pope Clement, again, he told me everything to do. It was all divinely guided. I have a client in South Africa whose mother-in-law was dying, and she was not able to communicate. She got sick very fast and she was dying. I mean, they didn't know if the woman had a will. They didn't know what her wishes were. They didn't know any of that. So I'm on the phone with her in South Africa, and they got 5 people on the phone, and I'm talking to grandma who can't communicate. I'm talking to her telepathically and then relaying it to the family. So after we were done, she said to me before I let her go, she said, can you teach me how to do this? And I said, yeah, I believe I can. And then the next day, another client asked me the same thing. So, I pull in Clement and I said, am I supposed to give a class? Am I supposed to teach this stuff? And he said, yeah, like, duh. And I said, okay, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to do. And he said, you do this, you do this, you do this. You use the Zoom video platform. Well, this was almost 2 years ago, Julie. I'd never heard of the Zoom video platform. And I said, dead popes know about the Zoom video platform because universal intelligence, we know all of it. This guy's got a great sense of humor, this spirit. And then he said, limit it to 12 people, do this, do this, do this. Here's what you charge. I went back and forth with him on the cost. He said, and it's expensive. And he said, you charge this much. And so he said, and then you started on this day, which was like 10 days from when I'm talking to him.
Wow.
And I said, there's no way I can't get it done. I gotta write the curriculum. I gotta see if my webmaster is available. I gotta write the stuff to go on the page. It's not going to happen. And this is one of those situations where he said, just do it. Okay, fine. So my webmaster was available. I wrote the copy for the page, mentioned it on my show, which is on Thursday nights. The page went live on Sunday. By Tuesday, I had 8 people in 4 countries sign up for it and pay the price. And I said, all right. And we've had close to 100 people go through, and my January class is full. April is filling up. I think it's got 3 or 4 people in it already. So it's really a game changer. We learn how to do everything, connect with spirit, validate what we get. We do remote viewing. We do medical intuition. We do talking with spirit, telling how close to death somebody is, past life stuff, spirit guide stuff, talking to angels, pets. It's all covered.
Let's back up a little bit and talk about this medical intuitive stuff.
Yeah.
People, I'm not sure if they understand that you can pretty much diagnose them, but tell them to go to a doctor. Are you licensed?
I'm not, and I don't diagnose them. What I do is I identify things that I see. I'm like a human MRI. I connect to them energetically, and then it's as if I'm looking at an X-ray or a CT scan or an MRI. And then as soon as something's identified, Julie, I'll make several swipes through somebody, and so something will be identified, and then immediately thereafter there'll be a healing that will begin. And that can take the form of something getting added, something getting removed. I watch procedures all the time that emulate what I saw in operating rooms for all those years, all those surgeries I was in and out of for decades. Sometimes I see healings that utilize methodologies and devices that haven't been invented yet. But regardless of what I'm seeing, I'm very descriptive with my client because I want them to envision or at least get a sense of what I'm seeing in my mind's eye, because the body's always going to follow what the brain's telling it, even if the brain doesn't believe it to be true. And so I'll make several swipes. The healing will integrate into the person's body. That can happen instantly. It can take days, weeks, months. It may need some kind of complementary care, change in diet, medicine, surgery, whatever. I had a client today where I saw a couple of brain bleeds going on. I said, you got to get to the neurologist. I said, if you have any symptoms, you go to the emergency room. Immediately, you call the ambulance and go to the emergency room. So I believe what I do complements Western medicine and even Eastern medicine at this stage of the game. So everything can be healed. I just wrote a blog on it earlier this evening. That's my blog for the week. People submit questions online, and somebody submitted a question saying, is there anything that you thought you couldn't heal and you did? And I said, well, it's spirit working through me and with me that does these healings. We do it in unison, wherever two or more are gathered in my name. That's what Jesus talks about in the Bible. And I believe this is an example of that. And also the other thing that's really important is nobody heals anybody. Any kind of medical provider, any kind of energy worker, any kind of physical therapist or acupuncturist or whomever, we're helping people heal their own bodies. Because, you can have two patients that have the same surgery and they both go great, and one patient heals really nicely and quickly and the other patient has all kinds of complications. The surgeon did everything the same. The vitals were all the same. The techniques were the same. We all heal ourselves. So we just facilitate healing. We help them heal.
We're conduits.
Absolutely.
Conduits, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get a session from you, they can find you online at
AskJulieRyan.com. Everything's at Ask Julie Ryan. All my social media. Ooh, look at you, fancy girl. Scrolling out across the screen. That's an interesting trick.
Well, we got to plug you because you're so awesome.
You got to teach me that trick. I love that. Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's the platform I'm on. I'm not magic.
Gosh. I'm impressed. Well, I really do pretty well, but I consider myself a remedial computer user. But I impress myself knowing how to do as much as I do.
So they can go online.
Yeah. And there's a button there that says book an appointment or schedule an appointment or something like that. And then I'm booked out for a couple of months, Julie. So the best thing is to get on my schedule, get on my calendar. And once you're on my calendar, we can move you. So you'll get a confirmation email. And on the email, it will have a button on it that says reschedule. So I tell people periodically click on that. And the different times that are available will show up then. And just click on it when you think of it. I think I had 6 people reschedule between Wednesday and Friday last week. And one of the people was scheduled for late February and got in like 3 days from when she clicked the reschedule button. She was able to move it up 3 months. So
you do all kinds of different sessions.
I do. Well, and it's just get on the calendar and then we can talk about whatever you want, any combo platter you want. You know, I'm a buffet of psychicness. So you want to talk about connecting with dead people, or you want me to scan you, and you want me to scan you, and you want me to scan your dog, and you know, whatever.
A husband and wife.
That's right. Yeah. That one gal in South Africa who took my class and was my client, she had, including herself, there were 6 people on the call.
Wow.
So yeah, we can do whatever you want to do within the hour that we have together. And then of course I have my show every Thursday night, and it's from 8 to 10 Eastern. And it's a call-in show. So people call in from all over the world. Some people will call in and it's like 3 a.m, their body time. You know, I'm so honored when I hear that. I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And then they'll ask questions about whatever, about medical stuff. Is my mother dying? My cat ran away. Can you find him?
Hey, I didn't get the phone number up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is book appointments. Your podcast.
And it's on the cover page of my. Do you want the phone number? I can give it to you.
I don't. Okay, here it is. I see it.
712.
I got it.
Yep.
We can just add it here.
Oh, look at you. 712-775-7035. And all this information, every Thursday, we post on social media, Julie, that says, okay, call in the show tonight. And then there's an access number, which is 483-620, I believe. Yeah, 483-620 pound.
They need that too.
They need that too, but it's on my website on the homepage. Okay. It's anywhere you download podcasts. If you download Ask Julie Ryan, it's in the show notes. It's also on social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Alexa, YouTube,
everywhere.
Everywhere. It's all under Ask Julie Ryan.
So you just have to ask Alexa.
Yeah.
Ask Alexa.
Hey Alexa. Yeah. That's a good thought. I'll have to ask Alexa, because for Alexa, you just say, Alexa, play the Ask Julie Ryan podcast.
There you go.
And she'll play it. But then you say, what's the call-in number to Ask Julie Ryan? We'll have to try that and see if that's on there. It should be.
Interesting.
I don't know if it is. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a call-in show, but I saw like on your website that you have different topics.
That's just whatever the blog post is that week. I'll answer it. People submit questions online, and one is chosen each week. And then we come up with a title from that, so I can have something to do a graphic on. That's all that is. So it's usually I'll get anywhere between 10 and 12 callers on that week. So awesome. It's really fun.
So people call, Ask Julie Ryan.
Ask Julie Ryan, babe. That's it.
And you also have a little contest on your website. And so people could win an hour with you.
That's right.
A free hour session with you.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. I have done so many interviews and nobody's ever mentioned that. Thank you for mentioning that. I give away a free session valued at $155 every month, Julie. And all you have to do are these 3 easy things. I feel like a game show host when I say this. All you have to do are these 3 easy things. Follow me on Instagram at Ask Julie Ryan. Sign up for my blog at AskJulieRyan.com and leave a review on the podcast at ratethispodcast.com/Julie. And you'll be able to leave a review on the podcast, 5-star, appreciated, of course. but those three easy things, and then we choose a winner. I literally put people's names in a plastic bag, and I pull a name out of the plastic bag, like pulling it out of a hat.
That's awesome.
And that's how I choose the winner each month. And I do that as a thank you to people who are listening to the show and for being part of this community and that we've come up with around the world. And it's just, that's a lot of money to some people, especially during this COVID time. People are out of work and things like that. And so it's just something little that I do to show my appreciation for people. And I know it's a lot of money to some people. So yeah.
It's awesome. Thank you for doing that. That's just
enter the drawing. It's always fun. The winner for October, was October's winner or November's winner? I think it was November's winner I talked to earlier in the week. And she was they're so excited when they win. It's really fun because I announced it on the show. And usually, and I'll use their their Apple name or whatever. And so it'll be Pie Crust 17. Okay, Pie Crust 17, you won. Can you tell it's almost Thanksgiving? I'm thinking of pies.
Right.
So Pie Crust 17, email me and we'll set up a date and time that works.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, fun.
I mean, did we miss anything?
No, you got it all going on. Look at you. I love that.
What's your next book is going to be called?
It's called Angel Messages for Dogs.
Angel Messages for Dogs.
And it's so cute because, there's dog lovers. I think my next book will probably be Angel Messages for Goldfish or something like that. I don't know. but it's angels talking to dogs, for little people. And the illustrations are fabulous. And I don't have one handy. I should have had one. Sorry. But the illustrations are just darling. And the stories I've heard from moms, Julie, are so cute. And that's why I wrote it, because I had so many moms. Yeah, you can tell off of the cover. I've had so many moms say to me over the years, can you explain, can you come up with a way for me to explain to my child what happens when somebody dies? Because grandma died. We're saying to little Johnny, grandma's in heaven. And he's like, no, she's not. She's asleep in that box over there at the funeral home. Or how does Johnny know what all this information about that he's saying that he knew, and we figure it's past lives and we can corroborate it online, and this kid can't read yet? Or how does little Johnny know all these stories about my grandfather? He says my dead grandfather visits him in his bedroom at night, and he knows all this information. And I got to call my client saying, I got to call my grandmother. And she's saying, yeah, that's really true. I mean, how does this child know this? The child never met this person. So I've had so many moms over the years say, can you please come up with something that I can use to help my children? The stories are endless, about what little kids know. And there's no way they could know it.
Right.
And so it's a series, Angel Messages, and it's a series of children's books. So I'm releasing the second one. Fun. Do I have time for a fun story about Angel Messages for kids?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Pope Clement was giving me, he was prodding me to get it out, and he wanted it out by Christmas last year. Well, I didn't think I could get it out that fast because, I wrote it and then it had to be illustrated and all this other stuff. So anyways, he was like, just do it, make it happen. Got to be out by Christmas. I'm thinking, really? Is it going to make that much difference? What do you want people to have it for Christmas presents? What's up with that? And then what happened? What was happening was COVID was starting to happen. And little children were starting to hear their parents talking about people dying or quarantining, and they weren't in school. And, they're hearing all the adults and all the fear that went with COVID around the world. And so I understood after the fact why Clement was on my case so much to get it out by Christmas, because it was very rampant in other parts of the world before it was here. It started in the fall. And then by here, we went into lockdown in March or something like that.
March, yeah.
And so it was really interesting. It's interesting what he leads me to do. and how he leads me to do it. And divine timing, exactly, Elizabeth. Yeah. Being led to do it and just following what we're guided to do. And the tip that I always tell people, whether it's a student or somebody listening to my show or a private client, is look, if you're getting guidance and it feels good, or at least feels neutral, it's coming from spirit. If it feels bad, it's not. That's your brain talking to you, and it's based in fear, and it's not real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm being pushed, and I'm pushing myself to do my projects. So I need to get that number from you. But do you have another something that you can share with us about your next book?
About the angel messages for dogs? Yeah, it's really cute. It talks about how, what happens when a pet dies. Right. You can still communicate with the pet, even though grown-ups can't see the pet. Sometimes little children can, and they can sense the pet. And how we're spirits attached to a body, just like our pets are, and how pets don't need to be afraid to go to the vet because they're just going to keep them healthy, like your doctor does you. So it's the angels talking to the dogs, but actually talking to the children in the meantime. But two inside scoops on that book. Number one, my daughter-in-law, Mallory, is a veterinarian. So the book is dedicated to Dr. Mal. And there's an illustration in the book that has Dr. Mal with her dog Rooney in it. And she's got her coat and her stethoscope and stuff on. And then there's another page in the book with my son, Jonathan, with our late dog, Katie, because we got Katie when he was 7 and he didn't have any front teeth. And he was this cute little blonde guy. And so I sent pictures of Mallory and her dog and Jonathan and our dog, Katie, to my illustrator, and she incorporated them. I told her where I wanted them in the book. And so it's really special to me because these are all original paintings, watercolor and pastel paintings. And I have all the originals from the artist, and then the illustrations were made out of the originals. So I framed the one of Jonathan and Katie.
How sweet.
And it's hanging in our house. So yeah, this one's really special to me because it's got illustrations of people that I love. My daughter-in-law, Mallory's getting it for Christmas. So hopefully she won't watch this because, I had it framed for her. Yeah. Dr. Mal. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, fun. And, little kids love dogs. So we'll probably do one on cats, and I'm thinking, one for policemen and one for probably firemen, and who knows? I trademarked actually angel messages. So
I see.
It's part of the
you're
series.
The businesswoman.
I am. Can't take it out of me. Yeah.
It's just awesome. You're the one that came to me and asked me to be on my show. So I'm very grateful and appreciative because you're just so awesome.
No, thanks. Right back at you, babe. Love your name.
Love
we have the same name. I'm a Julianne as well. I know.
Julianne.
Fun. Yeah.
Oh boy. Do you have some other stories? I'm sure you have more stories to share with us. I don't know
lots of stories.
If maybe a viewer, if you want to take a viewer.
If they have a question. Yeah, I got bazillions of stories. So what do you want a story about? I mean, I can tell you lots and lots of stories. I had a friend text me this evening, and her husband had bypass surgery a couple of weeks ago, and he was having trouble breathing. And she was saying, what the heck? He didn't have a viral infection or anything. The doctors couldn't figure it out. And I said, he's got mold exposure in his office or in his house or in your house or someplace. And I said, he's got mold exposure. I could see it in his energy field. Remember, I'm like a human MRI. I can see it in my mind's eye. And so she just texted me tonight. She said, you were right. We had the ducts checked and they're full of mold. So we're going to remediate them. And that's what was causing his lung issues. So that just came in literally before I got on this call.
I have a friend that is asking if their husband is going to recover from his ailments right now.
Okay, what's his name?
His name is John.
And where is he?
He's in California.
All right. And what's your friend's name?
Karen.
All right. So I'm going to connect to you, and from you to Karen, and Karen to John. Will John recover from his ailments? I get a no. So I don't know what I mean, I'm not scanning him. I'm just asking spirit a question.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey.
What's going on with him?
He fell down.
Oh.
And he's not improving.
Is he in intensive care or something? Does he have a brain injury?
Not that I'm aware of.
So it's orthopedic related?
Yes.
Oh. Well, okay. The question's pretty general.
Right. I mean,
spirit's really specific.
I'm not going to get better from whatever
Yeah, well, spirit's always going to give us a correct answer, but how applicable it is going to be predicated on how we ask the question.
Right.
So without me scanning him, is he going to get well from his ailments? That could pertain to any ailment he has between now and the end of his life. I mean, he may have something like congestive heart failure or something. And at 95, will he recover from that? No. So, yeah, I think it's kind of it's like the Wild West when you just ask a basic question like that.
Okay, let's get specific about his knee.
All right. What's going on with his knee?
He fell on it pretty good.
Okay.
And he's using a walker and wheelchair now.
Oh, geez. So did he have surgery? Did he break it? What happened?
They can't find the issue with it.
Without scanning him, what I'm getting, Julie, is he may be a candidate for a new knee. They may end up doing a total knee on him. And my husband just had one 6 weeks ago, and it's been fabulous. He is pain-free. It's just been remarkable. So don't be afraid of that.
And they probably used your invention in that operating room too.
Yeah. Well, the surgeons certainly knew about it. Yeah. They all know about it.
Do any of my viewers out there have a question? You can type it in here. We can ask Julie.
You can ask Julie Ryan. That's right. That's trademarked too. So's Julie Ryan.
Okay. I hope I don't marry anybody with Ryan. I will use my full name, because my sister-in-law, my late sister-in-law, she was Julianne Smulson. So I kept my maiden name and hyphenated. So, I was still referred to as Julie number 2,
Yeah. Well, you and I together, we're like Julie squared tonight.
Right.
Yeah, like the Julies.
Oh, we had M cubed on one of my shows.
There you go.
This is better. We have a couple minutes left. Do you have any events coming up?
Just everything's at AskJulieRyan.com. Call into my show. Like I said, it's a syndicated radio show. We do it live every Thursday. I'm not going to do it live on Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to do it live on Christmas Eve, because that's a Thursday. It says New Year's Eve. But I have a show that's pre-recorded about 3 or 4 times a year, when it falls on a national holiday.
Right.
But otherwise, it's live, and it's a blast. We have so much fun. And then we remove the commercials, and then we get we distribute it as a podcast without the commercials. So what's the question? Gets her messages. Does she get words? Does she get visions, colors? All of the above. I look like, in my head, it's an MRI. I can see broken bones, torn ligaments, viral infections, bacterial infections. I can see mold. I can see brain aneurysms. I can see tumors. I can see all that stuff.
Elizabeth wants to know about her dad. I'm sure he's not in pain. We know he's with us.
Is he recently deceased, Elizabeth? What's his name?
I'm sure she's
probably typing.
Yeah.
She's typing fast.
Okay, this is a different question. We'll wait for Elizabeth. Um, Melissa O, what are my gifts and how should I be using them?
In a way that brings you joy. If it's fun and interesting, go for it. If it feels like a slog, you're out of alignment, because spirit is pure love. It's either neutral or it feels good. Richard. So what's the question about your dad?
She's not sure if he's in pain. He's not in pain. I'm sure he's not in pain, and we know he's with us. So I'm assuming he's passed away.
Well, yeah, if he's passed, he's not in pain, because
Right.
that's just in the physical body.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's with you all the time. And how you can talk to him is our heads are big satellite dishes, and they receive and they transmit frequencies, and every spirit has its own frequency, like a radio station that it's broadcast on. So you just think of him and then he's right there. So say something to him in your head or aloud, and he's going to answer you telepathically. It's going to come in your head within a second. And you're going to think, oh, that's my thought. That's not him. If it's within a second, it's going to be him communicating. If you think about it for more than a couple of seconds, that's going to be your brain talking to you. So that's how you know how to do this.
He's being a stinker. I'm frozen.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay. You're frozen. Are you standing outside in the freezing temperatures or what?
I don't know. He's being a stinker. I don't know what that means. It's been an amazing time with you, Julie.
Oh, you too.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank everyone that's watched tonight as well, and that will watch in the future. This is Woo Woo for your Boohoo. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody. Happy holidays.
Oops. Oh, well. Thank you. I pushed the wrong button.